Welcome to NodeCast Explains. You know, for generations, owning a home in this country, well, it wasn't just a dream. It was a core part of the Canadian promise. It was about stability, community, building a future for your family. But that promise, it's under serious threat. Today, we're going to dive deep into our housing crisis, a maze we really built for ourselves. And more importantly, we're going to explore the blueprint for finding our way out.
So, to get a sense of just how big this problem is, let's start with one number, 400%. Think about that for a second. That's how much the average home price has exploded in Toronto since the year 2000. It's a shocking figure for sure, but it isn't just a statistic. It's the story of a crisis that millions of us are living through in cities and towns right across this country.
And this isn't just about dollars and cents, you know? This really cuts to the heart of our national identity. That unspoken agreement that said, hey, if you work hard, if you play by the rules, you can build a good life here. You can own a piece of this country. So we're going to break down exactly why that promise is breaking, and maybe more importantly, how we can start to put it back together.
In this chart, this really brings it home. Just 20 years ago, think about this, almost half of all Canadian households had enough income to afford a single detached home. Nearly half. Fast forward to today, that number has been slashed, plummeting to just 26%. The dream is literally shrinking before our eyes.
So the big question is, how on earth did we get here? Well, this crisis wasn't an accident. It wasn't some act of nature we couldn't avoid. We built this maze ourselves, piece by piece, through a really complicated web of our own rules and our own restrictions. Let's start by looking at one of the main culprits.
The term we hear all the time is red tape, and it's so important that we're clear on what we mean here. We are not talking about the essential rules that keep our homes safe or protect our environment. Those are crucial. We're talking about the frustrating, often pointless rules and the endless delays that just drive up costs for everybody without any real public benefit to show for it.
And here is a perfect, almost unbelievable example of the problem. In Canada's biggest city, on a massive 70% of all the land set aside for people to live on, it is literally illegal to build a duplex or a townhouse or even a small apartment building. This isn't just the market at work. This is a deliberate, man-made cap on housing supply that naturally sends prices into the stratosphere.
Which just begs the question, right? If these rules are so obviously not working for most people, why do they stick around? Why do we, as communities, fight so hard to protect a system that is failing our neighbors, our friends, and our own kids?
Well, a lot of the time, the answer boils down to this one little acronym, NIMBY, not in my backyard. It's a really powerful impulse. And look, it's driven by a very human mix of feelings, right? A love for your neighborhood, a desire to protect what you have, and this deep-seated fear that any change is going to mean a loss, especially a loss in the value of your single biggest asset, your home.
But here's the thing. Is that fear actually based in reality? Let's look at the evidence. The BC government studied this exact question, and the conclusion was crystal clear. In every single case they looked at, there was zero evidence. None. That building new townhouses or group homes hurt the property values of the houses around them. The fear just doesn't match the facts.
Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem pretty clearly. But the good news is we are not the first country to face this. We don't have to reinvent the wheel to find a way out. Other countries have built successful, affordable cities, and we can learn a ton from them.
And really, it all starts with a fundamental shift in perspective. Here in Canada, for the most part, we treat housing like a commodity. It's an investment, something to be bought and sold for profit. But in a place like Vienna, which is constantly ranked as the world's most livable city, they see it totally differently. For them, housing is a basic human right. And that's not just a nice slogan, it's how they've structured their entire city. Just look at this. An incredible 43% of Vienna's housing is social housing. And here's why that matters so much. When you have a massive supply of high-quality, affordable places to live, it puts a leash on the entire private market. It forces everyone to compete on price and quality, and it keeps things affordable for everyone.
Or you can look at Singapore. Public housing there isn't some last resort. It's the gold standard. It's designed to be a desirable, permanent solution for the majority of the population. They build these incredible, self-sufficient communities that are designed from day one to be integrated, both socioeconomically and racially. It's a system built on the simple idea that a stable home is the foundation for everything else in a successful society.
Okay, so these international examples are fantastic. But what does it mean for us, right here at home? Well, the truth is, we don't have to guess. We already have a detailed, Canadian-made blueprint for how to tackle our own crisis. It's a bold, growth-focused national strategy. Step 1. Appoint independent housing growth ombudsmen in our major cities, people with the actual power to cut through the red tape and get good projects approved fast. Step 2. Get the federal and provincial governments to work together to override the most ridiculous and harmful local zoning rules. And third, launch a public data dashboard so we can all see what's happening, keeping our leaders transparent and accountable.
And I want to be really clear. This is not just some theory from a textbook. We have hard proof from right here in Canada that smart policy actually works. You just have to look at what's been happening out in British Columbia.
Check this out. This chart comes from a McGill University study, and it shows the direct financial impact of BC's new rules that crack down on short-term rentals. By pushing thousands of units back into the long-term rental market, the province saved renters nearly $50 million, not over a year, in a single month. That's what effective policy looks like on the ground.
Now, $50 million is a massive number. It's almost hard to wrap your head around. So let's bring it right down to your wallet. What did that actually mean for the average person? In the city of Vancouver, the average renter is now paying $147 less every single month than they would have without these changes. That is real money back in people's pockets.
You know, at the end of the day, solving this crisis is about more than just economics. It's about who we want to be as a country. Over a century ago, Prime Minister Sir Wilfrid Laurier had this vision of Canada as the star towards which all men who love progress and freedom shall come. That Canadian promise has to start with a home. It is the bedrock of freedom, and it is the starting point for all progress.
So, here we are. We know the problem inside and out. We've seen the solutions that are working around the world and right here at home. The blueprint is on the table. The only question left for all of us, for our leaders and for our communities, is a simple one. Do we have the will to build?